What does it truly mean to live quietly, to walk through life with a calm presence, carrying within you a strength that does not need to shout? What does it mean to embody gentleness, not as weakness, but as a kind of hidden power, a power that rests deep inside and only reveals itself when the storms of life demand it? In an age like ours, age of constant distraction, of endless voices competing for attention, of news alerts, advertisements, and opinions flooding every corner of our minds, the ability to live quietly might feel like a forgotten art. And yet, it is in this quietness that one discovers something rare: an inner garden, a sanctuary untouched by the noise of the world, a space where you can sit in stillness and know who you are, regardless of what others demand you to be. Nearly 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, soldier, philosopher, and perhaps most importantly, a student of life also, searched for that garden. He lived at the very heart of chaos, carrying the impossible burden of leading one of the greatest empires in history. Armies looked to him for orders, citizens for justice, enemies for weakness. And yet, when we look at what he left behind, we don't find the speeches of a conqueror or the strategies of a politician. We find a man writing to himself in the stillness of the night or the early hours of dawn, trying to steady his own mind. His meditations were not crafted for the eyes of the world. They were personal notes, private reminders, gentle self-corrections. In them, he was not an emperor, not a figure of authority, but a human being struggling, reflecting, learning, and reminding himself to stay calm. What makes these writings extraordinary is not just their age, but their intimacy. He did not know we would be reading them centuries later. And perhaps that is why they reach us so directly, as though he is whispering across time, not as a ruler, but as a friend. And although Marcus Aurelius lived in a world where the voices of women were often unheard, overlooked, or dismissed, the wisdom he left behind does not belong to men alone. It does not belong to rulers or philosophers alone. It belongs to the human soul, to every person who has wrestled with fear, with doubt, with the ache of loss, or the weight of expectation, to every person who has longed for peace in a restless world, for women especially, who carry unique burdens, expectations of beauty, of strength, of silence, of endless giving. The writings of Aurelius can feel like a quiet hand resting on the shoulder. They remind us that this search for inner calm, for dignity, for resilience is not a new struggle. It is ancient and it is universal. His words do not shout. They do not command in the style of self-help slogans or motivational posters. They arrive gently, like the voice of an old companion who has walked many miles and learned that life is not about controlling the world outside, but about mastering the world within. In this video, we will explore what Marcus Aurelius might say to women today about self, about resilience, about love and pain, about facing loss without being broken by it, and about the art of living a life that remains steady no matter how wild the world becomes. This will not be advice that dazzles for a moment and fades the next. It will be quiet advice, advice that lingers, advice that you might carry with you in silence, drawing strength from it in moments when you feel unseen, unheard, or overwhelmed. So let us begin slowly. Let us step into the world of Aurelius, not as historians looking at a distant emperor, but as companions sitting beside him, listening. Imagine him speaking not in the marble halls of Rome, but here in the quiet of your own heart, offering guidance, encouragement, and timeless wisdom for your life today. Marcus Aurelius believed that no one can truly harm you unless you allow them to corrupt your mind. This may sound simple at first, But when you sit with it, you realize how radical this truth really is. The world can wound your body, tarnish your reputation, or try to control your circumstances, but it cannot reach the sanctity of your inner world unless you open the door and let it in. And for women, in particular, this idea carries a deep and timeless resonance. Throughout history, society has never been shy about telling women what they should be. It has dictated how they must look slim, youthful, flawless. It has dictated how they must act polite, agreeable, restrained. It has even tried to dictate how they should think, what dreams are too ambitious, what voices are too loud, what desires are inappropriate. These invisible chains have followed generation after generation, tightening and loosening with the times, but never fully disappearing. And yet, Aurelius' words rise like a quiet flame against this backdrop of control. You have power over your mind, not outside of it. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about what that means. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, not to scan for flaws or imperfections, but to look deeper to see whether your thoughts are treating you with kindness. Are they gentle, like a trusted friend reminding you of your worth? Or are they sharp and cruel, echoing the criticism of the world outside? Aurelius would remind you that these thoughts are not passive reflections. They are choices, and if they are choices, they can be shaped. He would urge you to cultivate thoughts that lift you higher rather than weigh you down. Picture it this way. No emperor, no institution, no authority has greater dominion over you than your own reason and judgment. Even Marcus Aurelius himself, a man who ruled over vast lands and armies, admitted that true sovereignty lies not in conquering nations, but in governing one's own mind. The battlefield is within, and it is here that your freedom is either won or surrendered. This is why self-worth is not something borrowed. It is not a trophy handed to you when you meet society's standards. It is not a currency given by others that can be spent or taken away. Real self-worth lives quietly, steadily, deep inside you, waiting to be recognized and claimed. For women today, this truth means resisting the constant temptation to measure oneself against impossible ideals of perfect face on a screen, the flawless career, the life that seems effortlessly balanced. True dignity is not found in these comparisons. It is found in the discipline of one's own thoughts, in choosing not to let your worth rise and fall with the opinions of others. It is found in the courage to say, I am enough as I am, and I do not need permission to take up space, to speak my truth, or to live fully. And so, Aurelius's wisdom becomes more than ancient philosophy. It becomes a daily practice. Each time you feel yourself shrinking under the weight of expectation, you can return to his reminder: the power is not theirs. Not the world's yours. Marcus Aurelius was no stranger to suffering. He lived through unending wars that drained his empire, plagues that swept through cities, leaving silence in their wake, betrayals from those closest to him, and grief that cut into his private life as both a man and a father. And yet, despite standing in the center of such storms, he did not collapse under their weight. Instead, he reflected, and from those reflections he wrote words that echo through the centuries. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. There is a quiet, almost hidden power in these words. Aurelius was telling us that events themselves, whether they are plagues, betrayals, or heartbreak, do not truly have the ability to define us. It is our interpretation, the meaning we assign to them, that determines whether they break us or strengthen us. In other words, pain is never only in the circumstance, it is in the mind's relationship to the circumstance. For women, this teaching carries a particular weight. Life often presses invisible burdens upon their shoulders, burdens that the world rarely pauses to acknowledge. The expectation to nurture, to provide comfort, to balance countless roles without faltering, to remain unshaken in public, even when in private the body and soul are exhausted. These unspoken demands accumulate like stones quietly dropped into a jar, one after another, until the jar feels impossibly heavy. And yet, Aurelius's words arrive like a lantern in the dark. The heaviness is real, but it does not define you. What defines you is how you choose to bear it, how you choose to speak to yourself in the midst of carrying it. Picture yourself walking along uneven ground with a large jar of water in your hands. Each step tests your balance. Each shift of the earth beneath your feet threatens to spill the water or make you stumble. The weight pulls at your arms, your back, your legs, but notice what truly determines whether you reach your destination is not simply the heaviness of the jar. It is your posture, your breath, your determination to steady yourself. Aurelius would remind you, the jar itself is not your enemy. The heaviness is not your downfall. The meaning you give to the struggle and the discipline with which you carry it are what decides whether you feel broken or empowered. If you focus only on the difficulty, the aching muscles, the unfairness of having to carry it at all resentment grows like weeds in your heart. But if you shift your perspective, if you see each step not as a punishment but as a demonstration of your own endurance, then the burden becomes something else entirely. It becomes proof that you are stronger than the ground beneath you, proof that your will can outlast the weight of the jar. What was once an ordeal becomes a testimony. This does not mean that Aurelius asks you to close your eyes to injustice or to pretend that pain does not exist. Stoicism is not denial. It is recognition. It is the choice to see suffering clearly and yet refuse to surrender your inner throne to it. To know that hardship can touch the body, it can touch the circumstances of life, but it cannot touch the quiet sovereignty of the mind unless you allow it to. That sovereignty, the freedom to shape your response, to decide how you interpret your trials, is a kind of freedom no hardship can touch. Empires may collapse, fortunes may vanish, loved ones may betray you, but the sovereignty of your mind remains yours alone. And when you claim it, when you remind yourself that even in the thick of exhaustion or grief, you retain authority over your thoughts, you discover a freedom deeper than circumstance. You discover resilience. And resilience, Aurelius would say, is not about never bending. It is about bending and returning. It is about carrying the jar, stumbling perhaps, but standing up again and again with the knowledge that the weight you carry today is shaping the strength you will walk with tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself not to demand perfection from others, for perfection is an illusion that no human being can embody. In his meditations, he wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." At first glance, these words may sound cold, even pessimistic, as if Marcus woke each morning expecting nothing but disappointment. But if we look closer, there is freedom hidden inside this realism. By expecting imperfection, we are no longer shattered when it arrives. By anticipating human flaws, we are less likely to take them as personal betrayals. Aurelius was not encouraging bitterness, he was encouraging resilience. For women, this perspective can act as a quiet shield in relationships. Think of the countless roles Many women are asked to play daughter, partner, mother, friend, caregiver, colleague. Each relationship carries invisible expectations to be patient, to forgive quickly, to carry the weight of harmony. And when those around us fail to meet our hopes, when a partner speaks harshly, when a friend disappoints, when a family member is careless, it is easy to feel as if the fault lies within us. Aurelius whispers the opposite. Imperfection is the nature of others, not a reflection of your worth. Imagine entering a conversation with this mindset. Instead of expecting flawless kindness, you anticipate the rough edges that come with being human. A thoughtless remark no longer stings as deeply. A broken promise does not feel like a dagger to the heart, but simply another reminder that people are works in progress. This shift does not mean lowering standards or accepting abuse. Rather, it means choosing not to let the weaknesses of others rob you of your balance. Love, in this light, is not blind endurance of mistreatment, nor is it the naive hope that people will one day transform into ideal beings. True love, as Aurelius would frame it, is clarity. It is the courage to see others as they are, with flaws, with shadows, with contradictions, and to respond not with despair, but with steady compassion. Compassion, however, does not mean surrendering your peace. It means holding space for someone's humanity without allowing their storms to sweep you away. This is where the power of boundaries emerges. Aurelius' wisdom reminds women that their happiness must never be chained to the moods or failures of others. Boundaries are not walls of isolation. They are lines of self-respect. They are the quiet affirmations that say, I can love you deeply, but I will not lose myself in the process. I can care for you, but I will not carry every burden you refuse to face. I can forgive, but I will not be diminished. In a world that often teaches women to equate love with self-sacrifice, this is revolutionary advice. It is permission to love without erasing oneself, to give without emptying, to nurture without being consumed. Relationships then become not prisons of expectation, but arenas where two imperfect souls can walk side by side, each responsible for their own inner balance. So, when Aurelius tells us to expect arrogance, ingratitude, or jealousy, he is not asking us to harden our hearts. He is asking us to prepare them like a sailor preparing his ship before the storm. With preparation comes steadiness. With steadiness comes freedom. And with freedom comes the possibility of loving not out of fear or need, but out of strength. In this way, Aurelius offers women, and indeed all of Isa, powerful truth. Love is strongest, not when it blinds us, but when it awakens us. To love clearly, to hold compassion without surrendering our center, is to walk through life with both open arms and unshakable roots. Fear is perhaps the most ancient companion of the human heart. It whispers to us in quiet moments, shaping our choices in ways we do not always recognize. Marcus Aurelius knew this intimately. He was not a man who lived in comfort, untouched by sorrow. He buried children. He mourned friends. He endured betrayal, war, and the crushing weight of an empire on his shoulders. And yet, even in that storm of responsibility and grief, he found the courage to write words that still reach across centuries. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. These words are not meant to frighten us, but to wake us up. They are a gentle shake of the shoulder, a reminder that time is not infinite, that life is not something we can postpone until tomorrow. For women especially, fear often disguises itself in subtler forms. It doesn't always come as a roaring monster. Sometimes it arrives as hesitation, the hesitation to speak up in a room where your voice might tremble, the hesitation to pursue a dream in case you stumble, the hesitation to love fully because rejection might sting. Society has often taught women to doubt themselves, to measure every step against the possibility of judgment. But Aurelius whispers a different truth. The opinions of others are as fleeting as clouds across the sky. Why should something so fragile hold such power over the course of your life? When we delay our dreams out of fear, we are, in truth, handing away the only certainty we have, the present moment. Aurelius urges us to claim it, to live now, not someday, not when we feel ready, not when the world gives permission. Now, to step into the day with the quiet courage to be ourselves, even if trembling, even if uncertain. And then there is loss, the shadow that eventually touches every human life. Aurelius does not offer shallow comfort, nor does he suggest that grief should be erased. He never denies the ache of absence. Instead, he invites us to see loss through the wider lens of nature. Everything changes. Everything ends. The flower blooms. It withers. It returns to the soil. The tide rolls in. It retreats. It comes again. Life is no different. To love something is also, in time, to release it. This perspective does not mean we harden our hearts or pretend we do not hurt. Quite the opposite. It asks us to feel the beauty of what was without clinging to it as if it should last forever, to allow grief its place, but also to let peace rise through acceptance, to realize that the ending of one season makes room for another, that the falling of leaves prepares the earth for spring. For women carrying invisible burdens, the loss of relationships, the quiet grief of sacrifices made, the ache of roads not taken, this wisdom can be a balm. Aurelius's words remind us that loss is not the enemy of life. It is its teacher. It sharpens our sense of what matters. It makes love more precious, laughter more vibrant, and kindness more urgent. So the quiet Stoic advice here is not to armor yourself against pain, nor to turn away from fear. It is to meet them as natural companions on the journey. Fear teaches us urgency. Loss teaches us depth. Change teaches us resilience. Together, they remind us that every moment is alive, fleeting, and worthy of being lived with open eyes and an open heart. Marcus Aurelius never raised his voice in his writings. There is no dramatic flourish, no shouting from the rooftops. His advice is calm, measured, and profoundly human, like a gentle hand guiding you through the chaos of life. To women today, his whisper across centuries might be this: you do not need to raise your voice to be heard. You do not need to conform to the expectations of a world that constantly tries to define you. You do not need to control the chaos around you, only your own mind, only the thoughts and intentions that are truly yours. Strength is often misunderstood. The world tells us it is loud, forceful, even aggressive. Yet true strength is found in quiet persistence, in the steady courage that allows you to rise each day despite weariness or disappointment. It is present in the dignity you maintain when others try to diminish you, in the kindness you extend when cruelty surrounds you, and in the self-respect that cannot be borrowed or stolen because it is rooted deep within your own soul. This strength does not seek applause. It does not measure itself by victories over others, but by the integrity with which you live your own life, day after day, choice after choice. For women navigating a world that often judges them for speaking too loudly or for standing too firmly, this perspective is revolutionary in its simplicity. Aurelius reminds us that power is not a spectacle. It is a quiet flame that burns steadily, unaffected by storms, indifferent to applause. It is the inner resilience that allows you to meet adversity not with anger or aggression, but with grace, patience, and unwavering resolve. Even when the world questions your worth, even when the noise of doubt surrounds you, there is a place within where you are untouchable, unshakable, and completely your own. As we close, remember Aurelius's opening guidance. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. For women, this remains as true now as it was 2,000 years ago. It is a call to cultivate the inner garden of the mind, to carefully nurture the seeds of self-respect, patience, and wisdom. No matter what world you inhabit, no matter the storms outside, you can turn inward to a place of calm. There, you will discover a strength that has always been waiting, not flashy or demanding, but profound, enduring, and quietly unstoppable. This advice does not seek the dramatic, it does not crave recognition or public accolades. It is slower, steadier, like a river carving a path through stone. It is advice meant to be lived, not recited, absorbed, not broadcast. Each thought, each decision, each moment of calm contributes to a life of quiet strength, a life that is both powerful and peaceful. Marcus Aurelius never imagined that his private writings, intended for his own reflection, would one day guide women and men across the centuries. Yet here we are, still listening, still finding comfort and insight in his words. His guidance is not a set of commands. It is a gentle hand on the shoulder, a soft voice whispering reassurance. You are capable. You are resilient. You already possess the power you seek. And if you take these words to heart, if you embrace this quiet wisdom, you may find within yourself a depth of strength, calm, and courage you never thought possible. That is the quiet, timeless advice Marcus Aurelius offers to women, to men, and to anyone searching for peace, balance, and enduring power in a restless, ever-changing world. In the end, the loudest victories are not those declared with noise, but those quietly lived, sustained by thought, character, and the serene courage to remain yourself against all odds.